Dynamite has finally released a new issue of the Ben 10 comic. The comic would unfortunately experience a delay, so we had to wait a little bit longer for this issue to come out. The first issue also completely sold out everywhere, so they actually produced new copies of the first issue. So more people will be able to get their hands on the first issue, which is great news. And here is a look at all the variants of the second issue. I am a huge fan of this variant right here that has Heat Blast and Ben right here. It looks sick. Alright, but let's get into the comic. So things continue right as they left off, with Gwen stuck in the RV by herself. We get to see her complaining about Ben being immature and running away, calling him a crybaby, but then she discovers the tech that is in the rust bucket. She presses this glowing button and this whole computer shows up, but in the meantime we get to see Heat Blast, and Ben is absolutely freaking out because the Omnitrix is doing this on its own. And we get a bunch of panels of Heat Blast, and this artwork of Heat Blast looks absolutely awesome and stunning at the same time. But this is where we get to see body horror elements in the comic. Instead of the Omnitrix de-transforming Ben into his human form, he transforms into a bunch of different aliens at once, like Upgrade, Gray Matter. I think this is supposed to be Stinkfly. He looks grotesque as hell. And then we get to see Accelerate, and as Accelerate, he starts to finally de-transform. And yeah, this is some wicked body horror. This is definitely implying the comic is going to be more mature as we go on. You know, looking back, it was probably extremely painful for Ben to transform into these aliens. It definitely looked like it could be painful in the transformations in the original series, but this comic really shows us how painful it can be. So after this, Ben of course has a breakdown after experiencing this possibly traumatic event. And now we get to see Grandpa Max, who is still looking for Ben, but instead of finding Ben, he finds the military base, and we get to see soldiers pointing guns at Grandpa Max, but this military actually recognizes Max. But this is where they tell Max that this is a very delicate operation, highly classified, and this is very serious. So Grandpa Max is a bit confused as the Colonel is giving him a stern talking, but the Colonel tells Max to come with him, and we pan back over to Ben, who is lost. This is where we see another meteor fall from the sky, but this is where we get to see Crab appear in the comic, and it senses a signal that we see it following. But we also get to see that the military are picking up multiple signals, so they group up together, and Ben is hiding behind a tree right behind them. So Ben decides to run off, but the military takes notice of him running, so they chase after him. But suddenly Ben's Omnitrix seemingly has a mind of its own and transforms into Cannonbolt, and Cannonbolt immediately begins to roll out. So this version of Ben seemingly knows how to use the aliens immediately. In the classic series, it basically took Ben the whole episode to figure out how Cannonbolt works, so this is very interesting. And going back to the Colonel and Grandpa Max, the Colonel implies that if any civilian finds out about this dilemma, that they're going to be taken out. So this is some real top secret stuff right here. So Grandpa Max really wants to go back to the RV after this, but this is where the Colonel is alerted of them finding something in the woods, and they try to track down the signal. This time though, they find the crab, and they begin shooting at this creature. However, this does nothing, and this is where things get gory. The creature straight up impales the soldiers, and we also get to see blood and gore. Thankfully, Ben has seemingly avoided all of this danger going on. Ben is very confused where he's at, but he sees a flashing light ahead of him. He tries asking it to stop, and we actually get to see Gwen chasing down Cannonball, thinking it's a random alien monster, and trying to run it over, but in reality, it's actually her cousin. And that is where the issue concludes. Gwen is a drastically different character than we ever seen before, and we also got to see Ben in all kinds of danger. And even without Ben directly in combat with anybody in this issue, like how he fought a giant bear in the first issue, he is still seen in a bunch of danger by the military and his own cousin. Crab was also a huge menace, just ripping people apart. This is definitely shaping up to be a mature take on the series. Definitely not going to be for everybody, but me personally, I'm totally open to this kind of iteration. We've seen things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles having cartoony iterations like Ben 10, but also very dark iterations like The Last Ronin. So I'm always open to seeing franchises have their different iterations. And after seeing the potential of what they can do in this comic series, like actual violent scenes, I really want to see Kevin in this comic book now. Kevin was already a complete psycho kid in the classic series, and given this comic series has a lot less restrictions, they could definitely do a lot with Kevin. And yeah, this comic series is basically a dark and gritty iteration of Ben 10 that has elements of body horror, gore, and a resentful Gwen. My only complaint so far, I wish the comics were longer in length. Finishing each issue just makes me immediately want more, but I think we have to wait another month for the third issue to come out, unfortunately. But yeah, this comic is very interesting so far. I am highly invested in this. Let me know in the comments what you guys think so far of the Ben 10 Dynamite comic. And yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the flip.